Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, started with a shift inside the mind. Not more talent, not better luck, not a perfect plan, just a decision, a thought that said, I can. Success isn't built from resources, it's built from belief systems. You can't outperform your self-image. You can't outwork a mind that's wired for doubt. The inner game is where everything begins, your confidence, your consistency, your results. In this audiobook, we'll explore how to master that game, how to rewire your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions to align with your goals. You'll learn how to turn self-sabotage into self-mastery, how to think like someone who wins, how to train your mind to attract the opportunities, people, and success that match your inner state. Because your life will never rise higher than your mindset. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. Chapter 1. Your mind creates your world. Everything you experience, everything you achieve, everything you become, it all begins in one place, your mind. The external world is not separate from your internal world. It is its reflection. Your thoughts are not just background noise. They're the architects of your reality. Every success, every failure, every pattern you live out starts first as an invisible process of thinking, feeling, and believing. Every result begins as a thought. The invisible precedes the visible. Look around you. Every invention, business, building, or piece of art was once nothing more than an idea in someone's mind. The world you see is a projection of countless imaginations that were brought to life through focused intent. This is the first truth of the inner game of success. Creation starts from within. Before action, there is imagination. Before movement, there is mental direction. If you can change the way you think, you can change what you do, and therefore what you experience. Most people try to change their circumstances while keeping the same mindset that created them. That's why they repeat the same results in new forms. Success, growth, and fulfillment are never accidents. They're built on mental blueprints drawn long before results appear. What you believe becomes what you notice. The brain filters reality through expectation. Your mind is not a camera that captures the world as it is. It's a filter that selects what matches what you already believe. Psychologists call this the reticular activating system, RAS, the brain's internal sorting mechanism. Out of the billions of bits of information around you, your mind only allows in what aligns with your expectations. If you believe opportunities are scarce, your brain filters for scarcity. You'll overlook potential, dismiss new ideas, and unconsciously sabotage growth. But if you believe opportunity is everywhere, you'll begin to notice people, patterns, and possibilities that were invisible before. You don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. Your beliefs act as self-fulfilling prophecies. Think of your mind as a lens. When it's clear and focused, reality sharpens into possibility. When it's clouded by doubt, fear, or negativity, everything looks distorted. Change the lens, and the entire picture shifts. That's why mental mastery is not optional. It's foundational. You can't outperform your dominant thoughts. Focus is creative power. What you focus on expands. Focus is not just attention. It's creation in motion. Whatever you give consistent mental energy to grows stronger in your life. When you focus on problems, you unconsciously give them more gravity. When you focus on possibilities, you begin to magnetize solutions. The mind doesn't care whether you're focusing on what you want or what you fear. It will grow whatever seeds you plant. Every moment, your attention acts as sunlight to those seeds. The question is, which thoughts are you nourishing? World-class performers, creators, and leaders all understand this principle intuitively. They don't waste energy on what drains them. They redirect it toward what drives them. They focus on progress, not perfection, on learning, not loss. Over time, this mental discipline compounds into mastery. Energy flows where attention goes, and life follows that flow. If you want to transform your outer reality, don't start by forcing change externally. Start by shifting where your focus lives internally. You are not your thoughts, but your thoughts are your builders. Most people live as prisoners of their own thinking. They believe every thought is true simply because they thought it. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. You're the awareness that observes them. Thoughts are mental events, temporary, fleeting, and often automatic. They are shaped by past experiences, conditioning, and emotional states. Yet when left unexamined, they quietly construct the walls of your life. You don't have to believe everything your mind says. You don't have to let negative self-talk dictate your potential. You can choose to think deliberately instead of reactively. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you create distance, and in that distance, you find freedom. You can catch the patterns that hold you back. The "I'm not ready," "I'm not enough," or "I always fail" loops that quietly sabotage success. Once seen, they lose power. Remember this: your thoughts build your behavior, and your behavior builds your reality. If you don't consciously direct that construction, it will happen by default, often according to someone else's blueprint. So, take ownership. Design your mental architecture. Choose thoughts that support your goals, your identity, and your evolution. Change begins with awareness, noticing what you consistently think. You can't change what you can't see. Awareness is the first tool of transformation, the light that reveals the hidden wiring of your mind. Start by noticing your most frequent thoughts. What plays on repeat when you're alone, stressed, or uncertain? Do you default to doubt or determination, to blame or ownership, to fear or faith? Write them down. Observe without judging. This isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. Because once you become aware of your thought patterns, you can begin to rewrite them. Awareness turns autopilot into choice. It's the moment you stop being a passenger in your own mind and start becoming the pilot. Every success story begins in the same place, with someone who learned to think differently. The most extraordinary achievers don't have superhuman intelligence or perfect luck. They have trained minds. Minds that filter for possibility, focus on what matters, and refuse to surrender to limiting beliefs. You can train yours too, because your external world is just a mirror reflecting the internal dialogue you maintain every day. If that dialogue changes, the reflection does too. Every result begins as a thought. The invisible precedes the visible. What you believe becomes what you notice. The brain filters reality through expectation. Focus is creative power. What you focus on expands. You are not your thoughts, but your thoughts are your builders. Change begins with awareness, noticing what you consistently think. Your mind is the starting point of everything you will ever create. Direct it with intention, feed it with clarity, and train it with discipline. Because once you master your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to follow. Chapter 2. The Power of Self-Image. Every human being lives according to an internal picture, an invisible portrait of who they believe themselves to be. This picture, called self-image, shapes every choice, every action, and every result. You can't outperform it, and you can't escape it. You will never rise higher than the way you see yourself. You might achieve temporary success through effort or luck, but if your self-image hasn't grown to match it, you'll eventually sabotage or shrink until your results realign with your inner identity. You will never outperform the image you hold of yourself. This truth is both sobering and liberating. Sobering because it explains why so many talented people stay stuck. They see themselves as average, doubtful, or undeserving, and their lives mirror that belief. Liberating because it means the power to change your reality lies not in changing the external world, but in upgrading your internal self-concept. Your self-image is like a thermostat. No matter how high or low the temperature, your results fluctuates, it always returns to the setting in your subconscious. If you see yourself as a 70-degree person, moderately capable, somewhat confident. You might occasionally experience 90-degree success. But soon enough, doubt and discomfort will kick in. You'll unconsciously self-correct back to what feels familiar. That's why true transformation requires changing the setting, not just fighting the symptoms. Success requires seeing yourself as capable before evidence appears. Most people wait for proof before they believe in themselves. They think, once I achieve it, I'll see myself as capable. But that's backward. The belief must come first. The evidence follows. Every breakthrough begins with self-permission, the internal decision to see yourself differently. You must imagine the version of you who has already succeeded and begin to think, act, and move like that person now. Confidence doesn't come from results. It comes from alignment, when your thoughts, identity, and actions point in the same direction. When you upgrade your inner identity, your outer behavior naturally rises to match it. It's not fake. It's familiarity expanded. You're simply rehearsing a higher version of yourself until it becomes second nature. The question is not, can I do it? The real question is, who do I need to become to do it effortlessly? Upgrade your identity. I'm becoming the kind of person who __. Changing self-image isn't about pretending or repeating hollow affirmations. It's about shifting identity statements. Your brain listens to your language, and every word you use reinforces who you think you are. Most people speak identity into limitation. They say things like, I'm terrible at focus. I'm not a morning person. I can't handle stress. Each statement strengthens the walls of their old identity. The brain takes it as a command. Understood. We'll keep acting like this. To change your self-image, change your language. Start using identity-based affirmations that reflect who you're becoming, not who you've been. I'm becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. I'm becoming the kind of person who thrives under pressure. I'm becoming the kind of person who prioritizes health, focus, and purpose. This phrase, I'm becoming the kind of person who, is powerful because it removes the need for perfection. It gives your brain permission to evolve. You're not forcing an identity. You're growing into it. Over time, repetition turns these statements from fiction into familiarity, and familiarity into truth. Visualization works because the brain treats imagined success as real. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish vividly imagined experiences from physical reality. When you visualize success with detail, seeing, hearing, and feeling it, your brain activates the same neural pathways as if it were actually happening. That's why elite athletes visualize before competition, and top performers mentally rehearse success before it arrives. Visualization is not fantasy, it's training. It conditions your nervous system for confidence and performance. When you imagine yourself succeeding repeatedly, you program your brain to expect it. Then when the real moment comes, you feel like you've already been there. There's no panic, no hesitation, only execution. Try this simple practice. Close your eyes for 2 minutes daily. Picture yourself as the person you're becoming, composed, confident, focused. See yourself taking action easily and successfully completing what you once feared. Do this consistently, and your brain begins to normalize that version of you. You stop trying to become successful and start operating as successful. Your subconscious believes what you repeatedly imagine. Visualization is self-image rehearsal, the mind's way of sculpting your future identity. Repetition of identity, repetition of effort. Act from who you want to be. Most people exhaust themselves with effort because they're trying to create new results from an old identity. They push, grind, and hustle, but their subconscious beliefs pull them back to what feels safe. The truth is, identity repetition beats effort repetition. You can force effort for a while, but identity is effortless consistency. When your self-image matches your goals, right action becomes automatic. You don't have to try to behave like a fit person when your identity is, I am someone who values health. You don't need motivation to study when your identity is, I am a disciplined learner. You don't need to force productivity when you see yourself as a focused achiever. Behavior follows belief. The most powerful way to change your results is not by doing more, but by becoming more. Every time you act as your desired self, you reinforce the neural pathways that make that version of you permanent. The loop looks like this: identity, action, evidence, reinforcement, stronger identity. The more you repeat the cycle, the less resistance you feel. Change no longer requires willpower. It becomes self-expression. Your self-image is your life's operating system. Upgrade it, and everything runs smoother. Relationships, career, focus, confidence, peace. Downgrade it, and even simple things start breaking down. Every great transformation begins the same way. Not with a change in what someone does, but in what they believe about themselves. If you want to become more successful, start with the sentence: I'm becoming the kind of person who creates success easily and consistently. Repeat it until your behavior confirms it. See it, speak it, live it, until the image in your mind becomes the mirror of your reality. Because you will never outperform the image you hold of yourself. Success requires seeing yourself as capable before evidence appears. Upgrade your identity. I'm becoming the kind of person who Visualization works because the brain treats imagined success as real. Repetition of identity, repetition of effort. Act from who you want to be. The inner game of success begins not with what you do, but with who you decide you are. Chapter 3. Thoughts, Emotions, and Outcomes. Every thought you think sets off a chain reaction, a spark that ripples through your emotions, choices, and ultimately, your life's outcomes. The connection is invisible but undeniable. Thoughts create emotions, and emotions influence decisions. What you think determines what you feel determines what you do, and what you do determines what you become. If you want to master your results, you must master your emotional state, not by suppressing or ignoring it, but by understanding it. Success doesn't come from forcing motivation or pretending to be positive. It comes from emotional clarity, the ability to stay centered even when chaos surrounds you. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions influence decisions. Every emotion you experience begins as a thought. Not the situation, not the event, not the other person, but the interpretation you attach to it. Two people can face the same challenge. One feels empowered, the other feels defeated. The difference lies in the thought behind the feeling. When you think, I'm not ready, you create anxiety. When you think, I'm growing through this, you create confidence. When you think this always happens to me, you create helplessness. Your emotions are not random. They're feedback. They tell you what story your mind is currently playing. When your thinking is chaotic, your emotions follow suit. When your thinking is focused and purposeful, calm follows naturally. The people who thrive under pressure are not those who feel less fear, but those who interpret fear differently. They see it as energy, not threat, signal, not stop sign. This is emotional mastery, the ability to recognize your thoughts before they dictate your state. Success demands emotional regulation, calm clarity over chaos. Your emotions are like waves, powerful, shifting, and inevitable. You can't stop them, but you can learn to surf them. The difference between reaction and mastery lies in your ability to regulate, not repress. Emotional regulation doesn't mean you never feel anger, fear, or frustration. It means you don't let those feelings run your decisions. You pause. You breathe. You respond from awareness instead of impulse. The world's best performers, from athletes to CEOs, share this one trait. They can remain composed when others crumble. When everyone else is panicking, they are present because they understand that clarity is a competitive advantage. Chaos outside doesn't have to mean chaos inside. The more pressure you face, the more important it becomes to anchor yourself in calm. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. When you master this, you stop being a slave to moods and start becoming a leader of them. Recognize the loop. Belief, emotion, action, result, belief. Your mind runs on loops, automatic cycles that reinforce themselves over time. One belief fuels one emotion. That emotion drives one action, and that action produces one result. Then, the result becomes proof that your original belief was right. For example, belief, I'm not good at speaking. Emotion, anxiety. Action, you avoid opportunities to speak. Result, you never improve, reinforcing the belief that you're bad at it. This is how mental traps form, not through fate, but through repetition. The same cycle can work for success too, but only if you rewrite the first line of the loop. Belief, I'm learning to communicate clearly. Emotion, calm curiosity. Action, you practice without fear. Result, you improve, reinforcing confidence. The loop doesn't care whether it's serving or sabotaging you. It just runs whatever code you give it. Change the input and the entire cycle shifts. Awareness is the key. When you notice the loop, you gain the power to interrupt it. Break the loop by changing the story you tell yourself. Every emotion is tied to a story, the narrative your mind tells about what's happening. And here's the truth. The story isn't always accurate. It's just familiar. You might tell yourself, this always goes wrong, or I never follow through. These stories feel true because you've repeated them so many times that they've become emotional habits. But habits can be broken, not by denial, but by redesign. When you change the story, you change the feeling attached to it. And when you change the feeling, you change the outcome. The next time you feel stuck, pause and ask, what story am I telling right now? Is this helping or hurting me? Then rewrite it consciously. I'm learning. I'm improving. I've handled harder things before. This isn't delusion. It's redirection. You're choosing to frame reality in a way that empowers progress instead of paralysis. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It simply believes what you tell it most often. Positive emotion isn't forced happiness. It's confident neutrality. The goal of emotional mastery is not to be endlessly cheerful. The kind of forced positivity is brittle. It cracks under real stress. What you want instead is neutral confidence, a calm state that allows you to respond with logic and composure, no matter what happens. Confident neutrality means you stop judging emotions as good or bad. Fear isn't failure. Anger isn't weakness. Sadness isn't defeat. They're all signals, indicators of how your mind is interpreting reality. When you meet them with awareness instead of avoidance, they lose their power to control you. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. Most people panic or hide. The centered mind observes the wind, adjusts its footing, and keeps moving. That's what it means to be neutral. You don't need everything to be perfect to stay powerful. True positivity is not pretending everything is great. It's knowing you can handle it even when it's not. When you understand the link between thoughts, emotions, and outcomes, you realize that emotional mastery is not just a mental skill. It's the foundation of success. Because if your emotions control you, your outcomes will always be inconsistent. But if you can remain calm under pressure, grounded under fear, and clear under stress, you become unstoppable. You stop chasing external control and begin building internal command. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions influence decisions. Success demands emotional regulation, calm clarity over chaos. Recognize the loop. Belief, emotion, action, result, belief. Break the loop by changing the story you tell yourself. Positive emotion isn't forced happiness. It's confident neutrality. Master your emotional loops and you master your life. Because success is never just about what you do. It's about how you feel while you do it. Chapter 4. Reprogramming Limiting Beliefs. Most people think they're living by choice, but in truth, they're living by code. Unseen mental programs, installed long ago, quietly dictate their reactions, confidence, and potential. These invisible scripts are called limiting beliefs, subconscious convictions about who you are, what you deserve, and what's possible. You rarely question them, yet they control almost everything. Limiting beliefs are hidden codes controlling behavior. They are not logical. They're emotional residues formed from past experiences, mistakes, or inherited conditioning. Maybe someone once told you, "You're not good at this." Maybe you failed once and decided, "I'll never try again." Those single moments, when left unchallenged, become lifelong instructions. Your mind treats belief as law. It doesn't distinguish between fact and interpretation. It simply follows what it's told repeatedly. If the internal code says, "I'm not confident," your brain will find ways to confirm that truth. You'll notice every failure, forget every win, and unconsciously behave in ways that make that belief seem correct. This is the danger of limiting beliefs. They build invisible cages that feel real, but only because you've lived inside them too long. The good news? You can rewrite the code. Identify beliefs that begin with "I can't," "I always," or "I never." Limiting beliefs reveal themselves through language. The words you use daily expose your deepest assumptions. Start listening to your internal dialogue, the phrases that play silently in your mind. Pay special attention to statements that begin with "I can't" implies powerlessness. "I always" implies permanence. "I never" implies hopelessness. For example, "I can't focus for long." "I always give up halfway." "I never have good luck." Each of these phrases is not just a sentence. It's a script, a subconscious rule that your brain follows faithfully. Once you identify these statements, challenge them. Ask yourself, is this an absolute truth or just a familiar story? You'll find that most limiting beliefs are not based on facts, but on emotional memories. You believed something once when you felt weak, and your mind decided it was permanent. Awareness is the first rewrite. Once you see the belief, it loses its authority. Replace them with possibility-based affirmations. What if I could? The human brain resists drastic change. It doesn't respond well to affirmations it doesn't believe. That's why saying, "I am unstoppable," when you feel stuck rarely works. Your subconscious rejects it as fake. Instead of forcing belief, open possibility. Replace absolute statements with curiosity. What if I could focus longer? What if I'm learning to follow through? What if I'm capable of more than I think? This gentle reframing bypasses resistance. The question, "What if?" engages imagination, the part of your brain that builds new neural connections. Suddenly, you're no longer arguing with your belief. You're exploring alternatives. Possibility is the bridge between disbelief and transformation. You don't have to fully believe the new story, yet you only need to consider it long enough for your brain to start looking for evidence. Because the moment you ask, "What if I could?" your subconscious starts searching for ways to make it true. Your brain adapts to new beliefs through repetition and evidence. The brain is not fixed. It's plastic, flexible, rewiring itself constantly through a process called neuroplasticity. This means you can literally train it to believe something new through consistent repetition and real-world reinforcement. Here's how the process works. Repetition. Every time you repeat a new belief, you strengthen its neural pathway. Like walking the same trail through grass, the path becomes clearer with use. Emotion. The stronger the emotion you attach to it, gratitude, excitement, determination, the faster it rewires. Emotion is the glue that binds belief. Evidence. Each action you take that aligns with the new belief adds proof. Your brain sees results and locks the new story in deeper. For example, if your old belief was, "I can't stay disciplined," your new belief might be, "I'm becoming more consistent every day." Each time you show up, even for 5 minutes, you give your brain data that supports the new identity. Over time, the new neural pathway strengthens, and the old one weakens from disuse. This is how transformation happens, not through massive leaps, but through small, consistent rewiring. Every action toward a new belief strengthens the neural pathway of success. Action is the proof your brain needs to solidify belief. You can repeat affirmations all day, but without evidence, they remain theory. The moment you act, even in a small way, you create alignment between thought and reality. Let's say your new belief is, I'm capable of handling challenges calmly. The next time you face a stressful situation and pause before reacting, you've just built a bridge between the belief and the experience. That single moment becomes data for your subconscious. See? You did handle it calmly. Each action is like another stroke of paint on your mental portrait. The more you repeat it, the clearer the image becomes. Over time, the new belief stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like identity. Remember, repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity becomes truth. The goal isn't to fake confidence or force positivity. It's to collect proof of who you're becoming. Your job is to take small, consistent steps that make your new beliefs feel natural. Soon, you'll no longer be saying, "What if I could?" You'll simply say, "I do." Limiting beliefs are not your fate. They're just outdated software. They were written in moments of fear, confusion, or pain, and now they're slowing down your system. But you're the programmer. You have the power to rewrite them line by line. The process is simple. Identify the code that limits you. Question its truth. Replace it with possibility. Reinforce it through repetition and action. Do this daily, and your brain will adapt. Not because it's magic, but because that's how it's wired to grow. You are not your past programming. You are the one who writes the next version of it. Limiting beliefs are hidden codes controlling behavior. Identify beliefs that begin with "I can't," "I always," or "I never." Replace them with possibility-based affirmations. "What if I could?" Your brain adapts to new beliefs through repetition and evidence. Every action toward a new belief strengthens the neural pathway of success. Because belief is not something you wait for. It's something you build. And when you reprogram your mind, you stop being the product of your past and become the designer of your future. Chapter 5. Focus is your creative weapon. Focus is not just a productivity skill. It's your greatest creative weapon. It's the bridge between potential and performance, between ideas and execution. Every invention, masterpiece, or breakthrough in history began with sustained attention. Someone choosing to direct their mental energy toward one problem, one craft, one mission, long enough for it to bear fruit. In a distracted world, focus has become a superpower. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or intelligence. They fail because they scatter their energy. They jump from idea to idea, task to task, craving stimulation instead of depth. But success, true, lasting mastery, belongs to those who can stay still long enough to dig deep. Energy flows where attention goes. Attention builds momentum. Your mind is an amplifier. Wherever you direct attention, energy follows. If your focus is on fear, problems expand. If it's on progress, opportunities appear. The simple truth is this: what you feed with focus grows stronger, and what you starve of focus fades away. Imagine your attention as sunlight. Scattered sunlight warms, but doesn't burn. Concentrated through a magnifying glass, it can ignite fire. The same applies to thought. Scattered thinking creates busyness, while concentrated thinking creates brilliance. Each time you channel your attention toward one meaningful task, you build momentum, not just in results, but in confidence. Focus compounds. The more often you direct your energy with intention, the more powerful it becomes. But in today's noise-filled environment, maintaining attention is harder than ever. Your brain is bombarded with information, notifications, and dopamine-driven distractions. To focus deeply, you must train it, the way a musician trains their ear or an athlete trains their body. Train focus through single tasking and daily deep work blocks. Focus is a muscle, and like any muscle, it strengthens with repetition. The most effective way to train it is through single tasking, doing one thing at a time, fully. Multitasking fragments thought and kills creativity. Science shows that when you switch tasks frequently, your brain doesn't multitask. It micro-switches, burning mental energy with every jump. You lose clarity, memory, and flow. Single tasking, on the other hand, builds immersion. When your mind engages fully with one activity, your brain enters a state of flow, a zone of deep concentration where time disappears and productivity skyrockets. To enter that zone more often, schedule deep work blocks daily. Set aside 60 to 90 minutes for focused creation with zero interruptions. No phone, no messages, no multitasking. Just one target. Start small if needed. 25 focused minutes is enough to begin. Over time, extend the duration. Your brain adapts quickly to structure, and soon, focus will become your natural default instead of a rare event. The secret is not intensity, but consistency. One focused hour daily beats 10 distracted ones spread across the week. Eliminate distraction triggers, notifications, clutter, multitasking. You can't train focus in an environment designed to destroy it. Every beep, banner, or open tab steals a piece of your attention, and with it, your creative potential. The first step toward mastery is environmental control. Remove distractions before they demand willpower. Silence or remove your phone from sight. Work in full screen mode. Clear your desk, cluttered space, cluttered mind. Use website blockers during work hours. Every removed trigger gives you back a fragment of mental energy. The goal is to make focus frictionless. Your environment should whisper concentration, not chaos. When everything around you signals work, your mind obeys automatically. Remember, distraction is not a lack of discipline. It's a byproduct of poor design. Create a world where the only option is attention, and focus will feel effortless. The ability to focus longer than others creates an unfair advantage. In every field, business, art, sport, or science, the top performers are not necessarily the smartest. They're the most focused. They can sit with one problem longer than everyone else. They can sustain attention through boredom, frustration, and uncertainty. And that's where breakthroughs live. In a distracted society, long attention spans are rare, which makes them valuable. When you can stay locked in on one craft, one mission, or one idea for hours while others scroll endlessly, you're not competing anymore. You're separating. Focus creates unfair leverage, because the more deeply you can work, the more insight, precision, and creative edge you develop. While others chase the next dopamine hit, you build momentum that can't be replicated. The marketplace always rewards depth over speed. The one who goes deep creates what others can't even imagine. Focus is not about effort, it's about direction. Most people equate focus with strain, furrowed brows, tense muscles, mental exhaustion. But true focus isn't forced, it's aligned. It's not about working harder. It's about working in the right direction with complete presence. Effort without direction is just motion. Direction turns effort into creation. Ask yourself before every session, what truly matters right now? Then channel all your energy there. Ignore everything else until it's complete. That single question, repeated daily, can transform your productivity more than any time management hack ever will. When you align effort with clarity, focus becomes effortless. It's not a push, it's a pull. You're drawn into the work because it matches your intention. Focus, at its highest level, is not tension, it's tranquility. A quiet mind fully absorbed in meaningful work. Focus is not something you find. It's something you build through deliberate structure, mindful environment, and emotional clarity. The truth is your mind wants to focus it's designed to. You just have to remove the noise that interrupts it and point it in a direction that matters. Because the moment your attention aligns with your purpose, everything else starts to move faster. Creativity sharpens. Progress compounds. Life feels less chaotic and more intentional. Energy flows where attention goes. Attention builds momentum. Train focus through single tasking and daily deep work blocks. Eliminate distraction triggers, notifications, clutter, multitasking. The ability to focus longer than others creates an unfair advantage. Focus is not about effort, it's about direction. When your attention becomes disciplined, your reality follows. Because the most powerful person in any room isn't the loudest. It's the one whose mind is undivided. Chapter 6. Feed your mind the right inputs. Your mind is a living ecosystem. What you feed it determines what it grows. Every thought, every mood, every decision you make is shaped by the information, energy, and environment you allow inside. The truth is simple but often ignored. You become what you consume. Your thoughts are not created in isolation. They're reactions to your inputs, what you read, watch, listen to, and the people you surround yourself with. If your mental diet is full of fear, gossip, and distraction, you can't expect your mindset to be clear, confident, or creative. If you want to think like a winner, you must feed your mind like one. Thoughts are influenced by what you consume. Guard your mental diet. The brain is always absorbing. It doesn't stop listening just because you're not paying attention. Every piece of content, every headline, post, or conversation becomes raw material for your subconscious mind. What you repeatedly expose yourself to, you begin to internalize. Negativity, fear, and outrage are addictive. The world profits from keeping your attention trapped in reaction. But every moment you spend consuming low-quality information is a moment you lose to creation, peace, and clarity. Guard your mental diet like you guard your health. You wouldn't eat junk food all day and expect physical strength. In the same way, you can't consume mental junk and expect emotional resilience or success. Be deliberate with what you allow into your consciousness. Ask yourself regularly, is this feeding my growth or my anxiety? Is this expanding my mind or shrinking it? What you consume daily is who you quietly become. Read content that stretches your perspective. Avoid negativity loops. The quality of your thinking depends on the diversity and depth of your input. Your brain grows through challenge, through exposure to ideas that push beyond comfort zones. Reading thoughtful, challenging, and educational material doesn't just fill your mind, it expands it. Books, long-form essays, in-depth discussions, these train patience, comprehension, and curiosity. In contrast, mindless scrolling, negative news cycles, and shallow entertainment train impulsivity, distraction, and fear. If you feed your mind with drama, your thoughts become dramatic. If you feed it with wisdom, your thoughts become strategic. The danger of negativity loops is that they condition your nervous system to expect threat and chaos. Soon, even when nothing's wrong, your mind stays on edge, scanning for problems instead of solutions. That's how pessimism becomes default. Break the loop by consciously choosing content that challenges you constructively, not emotionally manipulates you. Replace outrage with learning. Replace noise with knowledge. Replace reaction with reflection. Feed your mind with what builds your future, not what drains your present. Surround yourself with growth-driven people and environments. Your environment is not neutral. Every person you spend time with either reinforces your old habits or accelerates your evolution. Energy is contagious. Confidence, ambition, and curiosity are as transmissible as fear, gossip, and apathy. If you constantly associate with people who complain, compare, or criticize, that mindset seeps into your own. But if you surround yourself with those who think big, act decisively, and speak growth into every conversation, Your own standards rise without effort. Your tribe tunes your mind. You absorb their energy, language, and emotional range. So choose carefully. Spend more time with people who make you forget to check your phone. People who talk about ideas, not people. And remember, environment isn't only physical, it's digital too. Follow creators, mentors, and communities that fuel your goals. Unfollow accounts that amplify fear or mediocrity. Be intentional about who and what fills your mental space. Because one inspired conversation can do more for your mindset than 100 hours of passive consumption. Curate what enters your mind. Protect your inspiration like currency. Inspiration is one of your most valuable assets. And like any currency, it can be wasted. Every time you engage with negativity or meaningless noise, you spend a piece of that energy. Soon, you're mentally bankrupt, tired, unfocused, uninspired. Not because you worked too hard, but because you consumed without intention. Curation is power. Don't wait for good ideas to find you. Design a system that delivers them. Build a reading list of topics that align with your goals. Keep a mental menu, a set of books, videos, or talks that recenter you when your focus drifts. Limit exposure to breaking news or toxic conversations. Start your mornings with input that inspires, not input that alarms. When you treat your attention as precious, your creativity flourishes. You'll find ideas flow more freely, your motivation stabilizes, and your emotional resilience strengthens. Think of it this way. Your mind is a garden. What you allow in becomes the soil of your future. Protect it. Filter it. Feed it intentionally. You can't think like a winner while feeding on fear. Fear-based content sells because it hijacks biology. It floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol, short-term chemicals that make you alert but drain you over time. You can't stay creative or strategic while in survival mode. Winners operate from calm confidence, not panic. They choose their inputs like they choose their investments, with awareness and long-term payoff in mind. They understand that the quality of thought determines the quality of life. If you constantly consume fear, you unconsciously begin to think small, to play safe, to doubt yourself, to expect loss. But when you fill your mind with courage, knowledge, and examples of what's possible, your thinking expands. You stop asking, what if it goes wrong? And start asking, what if it goes right? Your thoughts are the architecture of your reality. Feed them strength, and they'll build empires. Feed them fear, and they'll build walls. Your mental diet defines your mental destiny. Every piece of information, every conversation, every bit of content you consume is either programming you for greatness or mediocrity. There is no neutral input. Choose wisely. Thoughts are influenced by what you consume. Guard your mental diet. Read content that stretches your perspective. Avoid negativity loops. Surround yourself with growth-driven people and environments. Curate what enters your mind. Protect your inspiration like currency. You can't think like a winner while feeding on fear. Because the mind, like the body, becomes what it's fed. And when you nourish it with clarity, curiosity, and courage, you don't just think better, you live better. Chapter 7. The Law of Internal Alignment. Every goal, dream, or desire you pursue depends on one invisible principle: alignment. Success isn't only about effort, talent, or even strategy. It's about whether your beliefs, thoughts, and actions are all moving in the same direction. When they are, progress feels natural, even easy. When they're not, no amount of hard work can make up for the friction within. You've probably experienced this. You tell yourself you want something: more success, more focus, more growth. Yet something inside feels resistant. You hesitate, overthink, or self-sabotage. It's not that you're lazy or unmotivated. It's that part of you is accelerating while another part is quietly pressing the brakes. That's misalignment, when the mind and the body are not working as one. Success happens when belief, thought, and action move in the same direction. The law of internal alignment is simple but profound. Success happens when your belief, what you accept as possible, your thought, what you focus on daily, and your action, what you do consistently, all reinforce each other. Think of it like an arrow. Belief is the bow, thought is the aim, and action is the release. If any of the three are off, the arrow won't reach its mark. When you believe something is possible, your mind starts generating supportive thoughts, ideas, opportunities, and creative solutions. Those thoughts shape your actions, which produce results that reinforce the belief even more. It becomes a self-sustaining cycle of growth. But if belief and thought are misaligned, if you say you want success but secretly believe you're not capable, your subconscious will quietly pull you off course. You might take action, but it'll be half-hearted, filled with hesitation. The results will match that inner uncertainty, confirming the original doubt. That's how people get stuck. Not because the goal is impossible, but because their inner compass is pointing in multiple directions at once. Alignment means all parts of you, belief, thought, and behavior, are telling the same story. Most people think positively but act out of fear. That's misalignment. Modern self-help often glorifies positive thinking, but thinking positively while acting from fear is like driving with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. The words are optimistic, but the energy behind them is anxious. You might say, "I know I can succeed," yet your actions scream, "I don't trust that I will." You might visualize abundance while still making decisions rooted in scarcity. You might dream of leadership, but stay silent to avoid judgment. That gap between what you say you want and what you do out of fear creates psychological tension. You feel stuck, frustrated, or drained, even though you're doing everything right. True positive thinking isn't about pretending. It's about alignment, believing enough in your vision to act from that belief, not against it. Misalignment feels like internal noise, 1,000 competing voices fighting for control. Alignment feels like clarity, one voice leading the way. If you find yourself overthinking or procrastinating, check for misalignment. Ask yourself, do my beliefs, thoughts, and actions agree? Often, success doesn't require more action, just aligned action. True alignment feels calm, clear, and decisive. Contrary to popular belief, alignment doesn't feel like hype or constant motivation. It feels quiet. It's a deep sense of clarity that doesn't need to force or chase. It simply knows. When you're aligned, decisions come easily. You stop debating every move because your internal compass points in one clear direction. You don't need external validation or endless reassurance. Your actions flow naturally from your conviction. That's why aligned people move fast. Not because they rush, but because they don't waste energy fighting themselves. There's a kind of calm power in alignment. It's not loud, but it's unstoppable. You trust yourself. You trust your timing. You trust the process. And that trust creates speed because doubt no longer interrupts the flow. If chaos, hesitation, or burnout dominate your path, it's not a sign to push harder. It's a signal to realign. When your inner and outer world match, results feel effortless. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract success almost magnetically? It's not luck, it's congruence. Their internal world, beliefs, emotions, mindset matches their external behavior, habits, speech, actions. They believe in their vision. They think about it daily. They act on it consistently. There's no internal contradiction to slow them down. That's why their progress looks effortless. Not because life is easier for them, but because they've removed the internal resistance that drains most people's energy. Misalignment feels like pushing a boulder uphill. Alignment feels like rolling it downhill. The force is the same. The direction is what changes everything. When your thoughts and actions mirror your beliefs, you stop trying to manifest success. You embody it. The inner reality and outer reality match frequencies, and momentum follows naturally. In alignment, you're not chasing success, you're expressing it. Before you chase more, align more. The instinct to chase more money, more productivity, more validation, often comes from internal conflict. We think more effort will fix the misalignment, but more effort on the wrong frequency just amplifies resistance. Before you add more to your to-do list, ask, am I aligned with what I'm pursuing? Do I actually believe this is possible? Do my actions prove my belief? Because more is meaningless without alignment. Expansion without coherence collapses. If belief, thought, and action are in harmony, you don't need to push. You're pulled forward by purpose. Everything becomes easier because everything flows in one direction. Alignment is not about speed, it's about synchronization. When your inner world supports your outer one, progress becomes inevitable. Success is not random. It's the byproduct of alignment, of belief, thought, and action forming one unified current of intention. Misalignment drains energy. Alignment amplifies it. Success happens when belief, thought, and action move in the same direction. Most people think positively but act out of fear. That's misalignment. True alignment feels calm, clear, and decisive. When your inner and outer world match, results feel effortless. Before you chase more, align more. Because alignment is the quiet magic behind unstoppable momentum. The moment your belief, thought, and action agree, the universe stops resisting and starts responding. Chapter 8. The Art of Mental Rehearsal. Before anything extraordinary is achieved in the world, it's first achieved in the mind. Every champion, creator, or visionary has one silent habit in common. They rehearse success before it arrives. They don't wait for the moment to prepare. They prepare for the moment long before it comes. This is the essence of mental rehearsal, the deliberate practice of success in your imagination, so that when reality arrives, your mind and body already know what to do. Mental rehearsal wires your brain for success before it happens. Your brain doesn't distinguish clearly between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. Neurologically, when you visualize an action with emotional intensity and sensory detail, the same neural circuits fire as if you were actually performing it. You are, in effect, training your brain before reality catches up. This isn't fantasy, it's neuroscience. The motor cortex, responsible for movement, activates during visualization. The prefrontal cortex, which governs planning and confidence, strengthens through repeated mental imagery. Over time, these imagined experiences create neural familiarity. Your brain begins to treat your goals as memories instead of dreams. That's why top performers seem unshakable under pressure. They've already been there in their minds, hundreds of times. They've seen themselves succeed so often that, when the moment arrives, it feels normal. Mental rehearsal transforms fear into familiarity. Athletes, performers, and leaders all use visualization as practice. If you've ever watched an elite athlete before a big game, eyes closed, body still, lips moving silently, you've witnessed the art of mental rehearsal. Olympic swimmers visualize every stroke. Pilots mentally walk through takeoff and landing procedures. Public speakers rehearse their delivery in their minds until every pause, gesture, and phrase feels second nature. They understand something crucial. Physical practice builds skill. Mental practice builds mastery. The mind doesn't just simulate success, it strengthens it. When combined with real-world effort, visualization sharpens execution and reduces anxiety. Your brain rehearses not only what to do, but also how to feel while doing it. Even business leaders and artists use mental rehearsal to prime creativity and confidence. They imagine handling setbacks with composure, finishing projects with precision, leading teams with clarity. These mental movies aren't daydreams, they're programs. When your mind rehearses excellence, your body follows. Close your eyes, and feel the success. Emotion accelerates programming. The secret ingredient in effective visualization isn't just imagery, it's emotion. Emotion is what makes mental rehearsal powerful, because emotion tells the brain, this matters. When you close your eyes and feel the moment of success, the calm confidence, the gratitude, the pride, your nervous system begins to adopt that state as familiar. You're not imagining a distant fantasy. You're embodying the energy of achievement now. The key is sensory detail. What does success look like? Who's around you? What do you hear? Applause, silence, the rhythm of your breath. What do you feel? Grounded, calm, certain. Engage all senses until your imagination feels realer than real. Because to the brain it is. Emotion accelerates rewiring. A single visualization done with conviction is more impactful than 100 mechanical affirmations. You're not just thinking of success, you're feeling it into existence. That emotional charge turns visualization from wishful thinking into neurological conditioning. Imagine overcoming obstacles with calm control. Mental rehearsal isn't about fantasizing perfection. It's about preparing for challenge. The most powerful use of visualization is to see yourself meeting obstacles calmly and confidently, rather than avoiding them. Athletes imagine missing a shot, then recovering. Entrepreneurs imagine setbacks, then solving them with composure. By rehearsing problems and calm responses, you train your brain to stay clear under stress instead of panicking. See yourself in motion, making decisions quickly, adapting with ease, handling pressure with poise. The more vividly you can picture these scenarios, the more emotionally stable you become in real ones. This is how mental rehearsal builds resilience. You're pre-programming composure, teaching your brain that no matter what happens, you know what to do. When the real challenge appears, you've already lived through it successfully 100 times in your mind. That familiarity gives you what others lack: calm control under pressure. Rehearsed success becomes real success. Every repetition of visualization builds a bridge between imagination and reality. Your subconscious doesn't care whether you dreamed it or did it. It only remembers repetition. As you mentally rehearse your future, your subconscious begins to align your behaviors to match it. You'll start noticing opportunities, resources, and ideas that move you toward your imagined state. Coincidences multiply because your brain is filtering for alignment. This is why so many successful people say, "I saw this happening long before it did." They weren't predicting the future, they were creating it. Mental rehearsal isn't mystical, it's mechanical. Repetition imprints familiarity. Familiarity builds confidence. Confidence drives action, and repeated, aligned action creates results. The truth is, you can't outperform your self-concept, but you can rehearse a stronger one. Each time you visualize, you're sculpting that identity deeper into your subconscious until success becomes your natural setting. Mental rehearsal is the bridge between knowing and becoming, between knowledge and embodiment. You don't need to wait for success to arrive before you feel it. You can practice it, experience it, and live it internally first, because once your mind believes, your world follows. Mental rehearsal wires your brain for success before it happens. Athletes, performers, and leaders all use visualization as practice. Close your eyes and feel the success. Emotion accelerates programming. Imagine overcoming obstacles with calm control. Rehearsed success becomes real success, because your mind is the first arena of victory. And when you've won there, the outer world simply follows your lead. Chapter 9. Turn fear into fuel. Fear is not your enemy. It's your greatest compass. Every time you feel fear, your mind is showing you a door that leads to expansion. But most people run from it, label it as weakness, and retreat into comfort. What they don't realize is that fear and growth are twin flames. You can't have one without the other. Fear is energy, pure, raw energy. When understood and directed, it becomes fuel. The most successful people in every field don't escape fear. They've simply learned how to use it. They've learned to reinterpret it, channel it, and transform it into performance. Fear signals potential, not danger. It points to growth zones. Your brain evolved to protect you, not to make you extraordinary. It interprets anything unfamiliar, even opportunity, as potential threat. That's why you feel fear before a presentation, before launching a project, or before stepping into a bigger version of yourself. The mind thinks unknown equals unsafe. But here's the truth. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. It's your body's signal that you're entering a zone of expansion, that something valuable lies ahead if you're willing to step through it. When you start seeing fear not as a red light, but as a green light, a sign that you're growing, everything changes. The presence of fear means you're not standing still. It means you're on the edge of evolution. The most transformative experiences in life are never free of fear. They're born through it. Reinterpret fear as preparation, your body gearing up to perform. What you label as fear, the racing heart, the tightened breath, the adrenaline surge, is actually energy mobilization. It's your nervous system activating to prepare you for action. The same physiological response that happens before a crisis also happens before a breakthrough. The difference lies in your interpretation. When you think, I'm scared, you freeze. When you think, I'm being prepared, you move. Your body isn't betraying you, it's arming you. That spike in energy is meant to sharpen focus, heighten awareness, and increase capacity. It's a pre-performance response, not a panic attack. Elite athletes and performers reframe fear this way. Before they step into high-pressure moments, they tell themselves, this is excitement. This is readiness. And because the body listens to the mind, that's exactly what it becomes. Fear, when renamed, becomes readiness. It's not an alarm, it's activation. The brave don't feel less fear. They act through it faster. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the mastery of movement despite it. The difference between those who rise and those who retreat is not that one group feels calm while the other panics. It's that the brave have trained themselves to move first, think later. Fear loses power through action. The longer you hesitate, the louder it grows. The instant you move, send the message, step on stage, take the leap, fear begins to dissolve. Because fear feeds on delay. Bravery is built like muscle through repetition. Each time you act through fear, your brain rewires slightly. It learns that survival doesn't require avoidance. It requires engagement. Over time, your threshold rises, and what once terrified you becomes routine. The people you admire, the leaders, artists, and innovators, all feel the same nerves you do. They just interpret that pulse differently. To them, fear is not a warning sign. It's a signal that something meaningful is about to happen. And so they lean in, not away. Create a fear journal, document patterns and triggers to disarm them. Awareness is the first step to mastery. When you study your fear, it stops being a shadow and starts becoming data. A fear journal is a powerful tool for this, a place to track what scares you when it happens and what story your mind attaches to it. Write down moments of hesitation, avoidance, or anxiety. Identify triggers, specific situations, people, or thoughts that ignite fear. Then note your body's reaction, heart rate, thoughts, behaviors. As you do this, patterns will emerge. You'll notice that most fears are repetitive, predictable, and irrationally amplified. They're not random, they're conditioned. Once seen clearly, they lose much of their mystery and control. Then, for each fear, write a new interpretation. For example, I feel anxious about public speaking. I care deeply about doing well. That's passion, not danger. I fear failure. Failure is feedback, not finality. By documenting fear, You transform it from emotion into information. And information gives you power. You'll realize that fear is not a wall. It's a mirror showing you where you've yet to grow. Fear mastered becomes focus magnified. When you stop running from fear and start harnessing it, you unlock a rare state, focused energy. Fear narrows attention. It sharpens presence. When used consciously, it can propel you into deeper concentration than calm ever could. Think of a performer before a live audience. Heart pounding, breath heavy, every sense alive. In that moment, they are fully present. That's the paradox. Fear, when transmuted, becomes the most powerful form of focus. The key is direction. Uncontrolled fear scatters energy. Channeled fear intensifies it. When you learn to breathe through fear, to ride its wave rather than fight it, that energy becomes rocket fuel for performance, creativity, and courage. Every master, at some point, learned to do this, to convert anxiety into alertness, panic into precision, fear into fuel. Fear isn't the enemy. Fear is the energy of transformation misread. The goal isn't to erase it. It's to understand it, work with it, and ride it toward evolution. Every great leap in your life will feel terrifying just before it feels liberating. That's not a flaw in your design. It's proof that you're alive, growing, and reaching new thresholds of power. So don't numb it. Don't fight it. Use it. Fear signals potential, not danger. It points to growth zones. Reinterpret fear as preparation, your body gearing up to perform. The brave don't feel less fear. They act through it faster. Create a fear journal. Document patterns and triggers to disarm them. Fear mastered becomes focus magnified. Because fear, when understood, becomes fuel. And when you learn to turn that fuel into motion, nothing can hold you back except the story you tell yourself about it. Chapter 10. The silence between thoughts. Between every thought you think, there's a moment of stillness, a pause so subtle that most people never notice it. Yet within that pause lies the purest form of intelligence you possess. It's in this quiet space, between one thought ending and another beginning, that creativity, clarity, and wisdom are born. Most of us live trapped in constant mental motion. Thoughts race like waves crashing endlessly on the shore. Fears, plans, judgments, memories, a continuous inner dialogue that rarely pauses. We mistake this noise for thinking, but true intelligence doesn't shout. It whispers. And to hear it, you must first learn to be still. Creativity and clarity live in the gaps between thoughts. The mind, when constantly filled, leaves no room for new insight. Imagine trying to see your reflection in a turbulent lake. The ripples distort the image. But when the water settles, clarity returns. The same principle applies to thought. When you stop forcing your mind to think, it begins to see. In those rare moments when the mind goes quiet, creativity surfaces effortlessly. Solutions arise from nowhere. Ideas appear complete. You've likely experienced this while showering, walking, or daydreaming. Moments when the thinking mind relaxed and a deeper intelligence stepped forward. That's not coincidence. That's access. The silence between thoughts is not empty. It's full of awareness. It's the space where imagination and intuition connect. If you can learn to enter that space more often, you'll discover that clarity isn't something you chase. It's something that appears when you stop chasing. Meditation trains awareness, not emptiness. Many people avoid meditation because they believe it's about emptying the mind. They sit down, thoughts arise, and they think they're failing. But meditation isn't about suppressing thought. It's about observing it. It's awareness practice, not thought control. Think of your mind like the sky. Thoughts are clouds, some light, some stormy, but always moving. Meditation teaches you to stop identifying with the clouds and start identifying with the sky. The thoughts still come and go, but they no longer define the weather inside you. You don't need to silence thought. You need to see it without judgment. The act of watching is enough to create distance. That distance gives you freedom. Freedom from impulsive reaction, emotional turbulence, and mental clutter. Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with thought itself. You begin to realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness that notices them. That shift from identification to observation is the birth of true mental peace. Practice stillness to observe thought without reacting. Stillness isn't about sitting perfectly still. It's about creating a space where awareness becomes stronger than noise. You can practice it anywhere, sitting quietly for 5 minutes, breathing intentionally, or even pausing between tasks just to notice. Start small. Take a few minutes daily to watch your thoughts as if they belong to someone else. Don't chase them. Don't fight them. Simply observe. There's a worry. There's a memory. There's a plan. The goal is not to erase thought, but to become conscious of the constant commentary that runs your life. Once you see it clearly, it begins to lose control over you. Stillness turns the unconscious into the conscious. It brings you back from autopilot into awareness, the only place from which change is possible. And as the mind quiets, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel present. You stop living 2 steps ahead or behind, and instead start experiencing life as it unfolds, vividly, directly, peacefully. That's not detachment. That's presence. In silence, your intuition speaks, the inner voice of direction. Beneath the noise of thought lies another kind of knowing, one that doesn't argue, analyze, or shout. It simply knows. This is intuition, the inner compass that guides you toward alignment and away from resistance. But intuition can't be heard over constant thinking. It speaks softly through subtle impulses, feelings, or quiet insights. To access it, you must first create silence, not external silence, but internal spaciousness. When your mind settles, intuition rises naturally. It's the voice that says, this feels right, even when logic can't explain why. It's what nudges you to take a leap, to change direction, or to trust timing. Learning to listen to that voice is the ultimate form of self-trust. It connects you with something deeper than analysis, a wisdom that sees beyond data, past, or probability. The more you honor it, the clearer it becomes. Learn to trust that quiet knowing more than external noise. We live in an era of constant input, opinions, advice, trends, comparisons. The noise of the world is so loud that most people lose touch with their inner voice completely. They outsource direction to others, chasing validation instead of clarity. But the truth is, the deepest guidance you'll ever receive doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. Your intuition is your internal compass, but if you never give it silence, it can't speak. When you create regular stillness, even a few quiet minutes daily, you begin to re-establish that connection. Over time, you'll notice that you no longer need to ask for as many answers externally because you're hearing them internally. Trusting that quiet knowing is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's the understanding that clarity arises naturally when you stop forcing it and start listening. When the world gets noisy, the wisest thing you can do is pause, breathe, and return to that inner stillness. In the end, success, creativity, and peace are not found through endless thinking. They emerge from the space beneath thinking. The silence between thoughts is not absence, it's presence. It's the source of insight, balance, and deep awareness. In that silence, you remember that you are not the noise of your mind. You are the awareness behind it. Creativity and clarity live in the gaps between thoughts. Meditation trains awareness, not emptiness. Practice stillness to observe thought without reacting. In silence, your intuition speaks, the inner voice of direction. Learn to trust that quiet knowing more than external noise. Because when you master the silence between thoughts, you no longer chase wisdom. You become it. Chapter 11. Think long-term, act daily. Success is not a single breakthrough moment. It's a collection of disciplined days. The most accomplished people in the world don't chase immediate results. They build long-term visions, brick by brick, through consistent daily action. They understand the paradox of mastery. You must think far, but move near. Winners think in decades and act in days. Macro vision, micro action. This is the mindset of sustainable success. Long-term thinkers see 10 years ahead, but work as if every day matters. They set a vision vast enough to excite them for a lifetime, then break it down into small, executable steps. Their focus zooms in and out. Big picture, small movement. Dream forward, act now. Average minds think in hours. Good minds think in months. Exceptional minds think in decades. When you stretch your horizon that far, pressure fades. You stop needing everything to happen immediately. Instead, you develop patience, the quiet confidence that small, consistent effort will inevitably create exponential results. You don't need to do everything today. You just need to move forward today. Long-term success isn't about speed. It's about staying in the game long enough to win it. Long-term perspective reduces anxiety and impulsive decisions. Anxiety thrives on short-term thinking. When your timeline is too small, everything feels urgent. Every obstacle feels catastrophic. But when you zoom out, most of what stresses you loses its weight. Long-term perspective creates emotional stability. It reminds you that one bad day doesn't ruin a great decade. One mistake doesn't define a lifetime. You realize that progress doesn't happen in straight lines. It happens in compounding waves. When you think long-term, you stop chasing dopamine and start building momentum. You stop seeking validation and start building legacy. You stop reacting and start strategizing. The mind trained to think long-term naturally makes better decisions. It stops asking, what feels good now? And starts asking, what serves me later? That shift from instant gratification to enduring vision is what separates those who burn out from those who break through. Discipline is doing what your future self will thank you for. True discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect projected forward. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you're doing a favor for the future you. Discipline is a language between you and your potential. It says, I'm willing to sacrifice ease today for greatness tomorrow. It's not about being perfect. It's about being reliable. Your future self is watching the choices you make now. It will either inherit strength or regret. Each decision is a seed. Some grow into power, others into pain. When you wake up and work on your craft, even when no one's watching, that's discipline. When you save money instead of spending it impulsively, that's discipline. When you show up to the gym, when you study, when you create, that's you choosing future satisfaction over current comfort. And the beautiful irony? Discipline eventually becomes freedom. Because when you've built enough structure, your life stops being chaos. You gain time, confidence, and control, the ultimate luxuries. Use the 1% rule. Improve one small thing daily, compound forever. Massive success doesn't come from massive effort. It comes from compounding consistency. The 1% rule is deceptively simple. If you improve by just 1% every day, you'll be 37 times better in a year. That's the math of compounding growth. Small progress might look insignificant in the moment, but over time, it multiplies. Tiny habits stacked daily build unstoppable momentum. Think of it like this. One push-up won't change your body. One study session won't transform your mind. And one day of focus won't alter your destiny. But 10 years of doing them, that's transformation. The 1% rule trains your mind to value process over perfection. You no longer need big wins to feel progress. You just need motion. one page written, one idea improved, one call made. Each small win is a vote for your future identity. Each repeated effort sharpens the edge of your mastery. You don't rise because of what you do occasionally. You rise because of what you repeat relentlessly. Every day is a vote for the future you're creating. Your life is not built in grand gestures. It's built in quiet repetitions. Every day, you cast votes for the person you're becoming. Each choice, what you read, how you work, how you respond, shapes the future in invisible ways. The key is ownership. You are always creating, either by design or by default. Every day, you either strengthen the habits that build you or the habits that break you. There is no neutral day. Ask yourself daily, what future am I voting for right now? Are you voting for strength or stagnation, growth or comfort, mastery or mediocrity? Your results are simply the accumulation of all your votes, your consistent small actions aligning toward a bigger vision. If you want a different future, you don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need to start voting differently today. Thinking long-term while acting daily is the ultimate balance. Vision keeps you inspired. Daily effort keeps you grounded. When combined, they create unstoppable momentum. Success is not a sprint toward tomorrow. It's a rhythm you live every day. When your patience stretches across years and your actions stay disciplined each morning, life stops feeling chaotic and starts feeling purposeful. Winners think in decades and act in days. Macro vision, micro action. Long-term perspective reduces anxiety and impulsive decisions. Discipline is doing what your future self will thank you for. Use the 1% rule. Improve one small thing daily, compound forever. Every day is a vote for the future you're creating. Because the future isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build quietly, one focused day at a time. Chapter 12. Master your inner language. Your most important conversation isn't the one you have with the world. It's the one you have with yourself. Every day, an invisible dialogue runs through your mind, shaping your confidence, decisions, and behavior. The tone and language of that dialogue quietly determine who you become. You can't speak negatively to yourself and expect to live positively. You can't think like a failure and act like a winner. The truth is simple but profound. Your words become your world. The language you use internally is the blueprint of your identity. It's the script your subconscious follows. Change the words, and you change the instructions you're giving your mind about who you are and what you can do. The words you say to yourself sculpt your identity. Your brain listens to every word you say and believes it. When you repeat phrases like, "I'm not confident," "I'm bad at this," or "I'll never change," you're not describing yourself. You're instructing yourself. Those words become internal code, shaping thought patterns and behaviors that reinforce the same story. Most people underestimate the power of self-talk because it's so constant they stop hearing it. Yet every phrase builds or breaks your self-image. If your inner dialogue is full of doubt, your subconscious aligns with limitation. If it's full of direction and belief, it aligns with strength. You are not your circumstances. You are the language you use to interpret them. The moment you upgrade that language, your entire reality begins to shift. Replace self-criticism with self-command, clear, firm, and calm language. There's a massive difference between self-criticism and self-command. Self-criticism tears you down. Self-command builds you up. One drains energy, the other directs it. Self-criticism sounds like, "You always mess this up. You'll never get this right. What's wrong with you?" Self-command sounds like, "Focus, adjust, and continue. You've handled harder things before." Criticism triggers guilt and paralysis. Command triggers clarity and movement. Your mind responds to tone, not just words. Speak to yourself like a leader, not a loser. Notice that powerful people, athletes, soldiers, performers, use short, clear, directive language under pressure. They don't waste words, they give commands. They don't ask if they can. They tell themselves they will. When your inner voice becomes firm but calm, your nervous system follows suit. Anxiety fades because leadership has replaced chaos. Your self-talk should be like the voice of a skilled pilot, composed, confident, giving instructions that move you forward. Talk to yourself like a coach, not a critic. If you coach someone the way you often talk to yourself, would they improve or break down? Imagine the difference. A critic says, "You failed again." A coach says, "Here's what we'll do differently next time." One focuses on judgment, the other on progress. Your self-talk should guide, not punish. A coach doesn't deny mistakes. They study them, extract lessons, and encourage resilience. They balance accountability with belief. Start treating yourself the same way. When you make a mistake, replace shame with strategy. I missed this, but I'm learning. That didn't work. Let's try a new approach. I'm improving faster than I think. Self-compassion is not weakness, it's precision. It keeps your energy on growth instead of guilt. When you talk to yourself like a trusted coach, you stop wasting emotional energy on self-attack and start investing in progress. Repetition reprograms. Affirm the identity you're building daily. Your brain learns through repetition. Every word you repeat becomes a neural groove, a pathway that grows deeper with use. This is why affirmations work when done correctly, not as empty hype, but as consistent reminders of the identity you're constructing. Instead of vague affirmations like, "I am successful," use specific, believable identity-based statements. I'm becoming more focused every day. I'm learning to stay calm under pressure. I follow through on what I start. Each repetition reinforces the self-image you're building. Over time, these statements evolve from conscious effort into subconscious truth. Your brain starts scanning for evidence to confirm the new identity, and you begin to act accordingly. Remember, affirmations are not magic spells. They are directions for your subconscious. If repeated with conviction and followed by consistent action, they rewire your sense of self from the inside out. The voice you use most often becomes the reality you live most deeply. Your words become your world. Speak success into your life. Language shapes perception, and perception shapes reality. When you choose empowering language, you're not denying your challenges. You're redefining your relationship with them. Say, "I'm improving" instead of "I'm struggling." Say, "I'm learning" instead of "I'm failing." Say, "This is temporary" instead of "This is who I am." These shifts may seem small, but their impact is massive. You're programming your mind to see possibilities instead of walls. You're giving yourself permission to evolve instead of permission to quit. Speak success not as a wish, but as a direction. Tell your mind where to go, what to build, who to become, because it's always listening, and it takes your words literally. If you speak in limitations, your life will shrink to fit them. If you speak in expansion, your life will stretch to meet them. Mastering your inner language is the foundation of mastering yourself. It's not about pretending to be confident. It's about using words that strengthen your identity until confidence becomes natural. When your self-talk becomes clear, kind, and commanding, your inner world stabilizes. You stop sabotaging progress with doubt. You stop interpreting challenges as personal attacks. You begin living in a state of inner leadership, where your thoughts follow your direction, not your fear. The words you say to yourself sculpt your identity. Replace self-criticism with self-command, clear, firm, and calm language. Talk to yourself like a coach, not a critic. Repetition reprograms. Affirm the identity you're building daily. Your words become your world. Speak success into your life. Because the most powerful voice you'll ever hear is the one inside your head. And when that voice becomes your ally, nothing outside can stand in your way. The real battle for success doesn't happen in boardrooms, markets, or offices. It happens in your mind. Every thought is a vote for the future you. Every belief is a seed of possibility or limitation. You've learned that focus shapes energy, self-image drives behavior, and inner alignment creates outer success. The goal is no longer to force results. It's to think in a way that makes success inevitable. Because once your mind believes, your actions follow. And once your actions align, your world transforms. You are not your past beliefs. You are your future decisions. From this moment forward, think like someone who wins. Speak like someone who builds. Act like someone who believes. Your thoughts are tools. Sharpen them. Your beliefs are blueprints. Rebuild them. Your mind is the battlefield. Win it, and the rest follows. This is the inner game of success, and you've already begun to play and win.